What was BLM thinking while doing that? And more importantly, what was the referee doing? Why didn't he stop him? Why didn't he give him a foul? To discuss all of these topics today, we have with us a master WAF referee, Luke Polcher from USA. He's going to give his insights on this topic from a referee's point of view, which is a must in this case. But before that, let me give you some brief description about this topic. So it was the Toronto qualifier of East versus West. Table Monkeys were organizing the event and their Matt Mask faced BLM. When BLM's shoulders were squared and they were not leaning towards the pad, BLM lost fair and square and he got flash pinned. But towards the end of the tournament, this happened when BLM was doing this and he was able to stop Matt Mask in that position. I'm not saying that was entirely due to this position, but he was able to get the stop, and some people are saying that maybe because of that, Matt got injured in his pectoral muscle. So who is to blame for that? Let's find out. So guys, to discuss the same topic today, we have a very special guest. He is a certified, well-experienced WAF referee. We have with us Luke Polcher. How are you, brother?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, I'm fine. So you watched the video, Luke. What are your initial thoughts about it when you saw the match?
Uh, I mean, it's the way BLM is angling himself. He's looking for an advantage in the start to stop Matt's hit. Um, outside of that weird angle where he's dipped down so low, I didn't see anything odd or weird out of it. There's a handful of guys that I see that arm wrestle with that really low shoulder on the offensive side. I don't personally like it as a competitor. I think it feels weird, but understand why he's doing it.
Yeah. And guys, I'll ask Luke a few questions about the legalities of this. What does the rule say? What should the referees do? Many questions. But before that, Luke, can you quickly give an introduction about yourself for the fans that who may not know about you?
Sure. I've been in the sport for about 23 years, 24 maybe. As a competitor, I've been refereeing for close to 20 now. Started refereeing under Leonard Harkless in the United States and progressed refing with him for many, many years. In 2019, actually in 2017, I tested for WAF and made senior referee. In 2018, I tested and made master referee. Technically speaking, if I do not attend WAF and uh, ref at WAF this year, I'll lose my master certification with them because you have to ref at the World Championships every so many years in order to keep your WAF certification current. I'm undecided yet if I'm going to be in Kazakhstan for Worlds or not. So time will tell on that one.
And as far as I know, there are no medals for referees. So these medals hanging behind you, they must be your competition medals.
Yep, those are my 6 national titles that I've accomplished since 2017.
Yeah. So guys, we know that the man knows what he's going to talk about now. So the first question, what does the rule say about this situation? Squaring the shoulder rule. What do we have to know about that rule?
Yep. So the rule states shoulders must be square to the table before the start of a match. There is no rule that talks about dipping or angles on the vertical plane, just the horizontal plane, the plane with the table. The other rule that the video angle doesn't allow me to tell you if BLM was in violation of it or not, but you have to have a fist distance between your hand and your chest and or shoulder. It looks like there's probably enough distance there from the video angle to know for sure, but and really the video angle didn't give us a great idea if his shoulders were square before the start. The video, it doesn't look like it. Certainly, it looks like he was tilted
Yeah.
out on the right hand side of his body, but the angle's not perfect to be able to know that for sure.
Somebody commented that you can read the entire text on BLM's back. So the camera is directly coming to the side. So if you can read what's written on the athlete shirt, then clearly the shoulders are not square.
Right.
And so you mentioned that the rule doesn't say anything about the inclination to the side. So if I'm doing this, my shoulder is touching the elbow pad like BLM did, it's okay according to the rules.
According to the rules, as long as your shoulders are square to the table, you can dip down or up as much as you want. So you can be like this as long as you're square, or you can be, some guys like to be super, super high like that and get above their shoulder. but as long as you're square.
Yeah, or maybe even in the offensive side in in an open top
Right.
role.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know anybody that actually starts way out like that, but technically you can.
yeah, you can. So why do athletes not square their shoulders before the go? What are the advantages that they are gaining?
The advantage to not being square, depending on what your move is. So if you're a top roller, having that angled out will give you a little bit more rotation, momentum potential, maybe. If you're a hook puller like I am, being turned out allows me to pivot in towards that hook maybe a little bit quicker. Um, I don't know if it really truly gives you an advantage or if it just makes you feel like you have an advantage, which is beneficial too. I mean, if you feel good, you pull well. So but the advantage would be that it's giving you a head start getting into your move, especially if one athlete is turned out and the other is square.
Yeah.
Both athletes are turning out, they probably negate each other. Um, but if one is doing it and the other one isn't, then the advantage is probably there.
Yeah. And I've seen recently that many referees make mistakes while following this rule. This rule is many times it's forgotten by the referees. And another trend that I've seen recently is that, let's say I'm the referee and the person who is to my left in a right-handed match, so his shoulder is near me. So we always see the referee tapping that guy's shoulder. But the other person, he almost always coils in before starting the match, and most of the times it is forgotten. So why are the referees forgetting it or missing it or maybe intentionally not paying that much attention to it? Like, what's the case there?
Sure. Well, first of all, I don't think it's ever intentional. I
Okay.
don't think a referee is intentionally not following a rule. So I don't think that's the case. The thing that people that don't referee really don't understand is it is really hard. Doing a good job refereeing is wildly difficult. It is significantly harder to be a good referee than it is a good arm wrestler. Um, and what you're talking about is a great point. You've got so much that you've got to control at the table to make a fair match. And I think a lot of referees, once you start to work on the hands and the squaring there, you kind of lose sight of the peripheral shoulders. So if I'm a competitor and I want my shoulder turned out, when we're setting up, my shoulder is going to be in to start. And when he starts working on my hand is when I'm going to drift my shoulder out
Yeah.
because he's not looking at my shoulder anymore. Now, I think more often than not, your top referees still catch it. I think any of your IFA or WAF master referees, more often than not, are going to catch that. Um, the longer you do it, the more you understand those principles, the more you know to check your peripheral vision and make sure that nothing's moving while you're doing it. But I would say that's why you see it get missed is because they've now, okay, we've got the shoulder square. Now we focus here and the area outside of the hands kind of grays out. It just kind of blurs out and we're not getting that full view anymore. We're not taking that extra time before we say go to check where we started. It's like start here, go here, move here, move here. Now we're here. You still got to check here. So it's just, the easy answer is you lose focus on the whole picture and you're focused on what you're doing. The bigger answer is it's a very difficult job, especially with really high level athletes that are going for every advantage they can. Um, it gets harder depending on the promoter that you're working for because the promoters want things to be very viewer friendly for pay-per-views and stuff like that. So you're actively trying to get the match started faster, so we don't have to watch so much setup time, and all those things, make it harder to do everything perfect.
Yeah. I'm not a referee, but it is easy to understand that how important peripheral vision really is while arm wrestling. And another thing that I've noticed with the not with the senior referees, but with the beginner referees, they sometimes start to enjoy the match by looking at the hands and not necessarily at the elbows. And maybe sometimes even with the senior referees, when the match is really close, let's say Vitali and I'm not saying about that match, but I'm talking about a high caliber match like Vitali versus Dave. Sometimes I've seen that the referee starts looking at the hands. I don't think after a match has started anything illegal can be going on above the elbows of the arm wrestlers if we take a
Right.
look at maybe the shoulders can touch, but this is another mistake. Have you also seen the referees make similar mistakes?
I've done it. I mean, the most recent one I can say is reffing John Brzenk versus Corey West
Okay,
at the
another
Monster
example, great
Factory.
match. Same example, great match.
The, the first goal when John stopped him in a hook, um, for that split second, I caught myself watching the match as a fan.
Yeah,
Um, Luckily, experience and everything, ref, and I caught it, I fixed it, and I went back to ref, and that fast. But I absolutely fell prey to that. And oh my God, John just stopped a 400+ pound gorilla in a hook
I know.
and stuff. So it's easy to do. I think the best referee I've ever seen at avoiding that is Keith Michelle. Um, Keith Michelle, honest to goodness, if you go up to Keith after a match and ask him what you could have done better, most of the time Keith will say, "I refed you." He didn't even remember who was at the table. He is purely focused on his job as a referee and nothing else. And he is by far the most focused referee in that aspect I've ever seen.
Mhm. So coming back to the BLM versus Matt Mask match, we saw that first round when the first time they faced each other, these shoulders were square and they were not dipped to the side, and Matt beats BLM easy. After that, the BLM was not squared up; he was all leaning to one side, and BLM wins that match. And maybe even I'm not stating it as a fact, and maybe Matt got injured after that, and people are trashing BLM online for this. My question to you is, whose responsibility is that? If the athlete knows that if he messes something up, if he doesn't follow the rules, he's going to get the fouls. So is that it? Or if the athlete intentionally causes some troubles doing fouls that he shouldn't be doing, does the referee have another power to do something other than and something more than just giving him a foul? If you were to tell me, in such situations, who bears the responsibility? Is it the athlete or is it the referee?
Um, if I understand the question you're asking me, I think it's a shared responsibility. Um, but you have to understand that a competitor in any sport is going to get away with as much as they're allowed to get away with. You see it in every sport. Professional basketball, if you've got referees on the court that are going to allow you to take 3 steps before they call traveling instead of two, you're going to see a bunch of basketball players taking 3 steps every chance they can. So the athlete, the competitor, is going to push the limit as far as they can possibly push it to get any advantage they think that they need and or want. Um, Ultimately, it's the referee's job to control the table. Uh, but the the responsibility of the referee is a fair and equitable start to the match, and then it's to call the appropriate fouls and keep the athlete safe. That's the only job a referee has. Um, like if you watch the Monster Factory stuff, so it's running fouls, but the setup is very strict.
Yeah.
Um, because that's the only way to get a fair and equitable start to a match is to not allow all the ridiculous crap that goes on before the go in a match. Um, that is the only critique I have of East versus West. I think the
Starts.
rule set they're using for what they're trying to accomplish is just fine. I think by and large, the referees, given the situation that they're in, are doing a very good job, and they seem to be getting better with every event. But there's too much hocus pocus allowed
Yeah.
before the start of a match.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know why. I don't know if it's the refs aren't taking
Yeah.
control or if the refs aren't allowed to take control. I don't know which it is. I'm not standing there, so I'm not making a judgment there. But that's really the only critique I would make on East West is there's a lot of trickery that could be fixed if the ref just took control of the match the way that they're supposed to. Um, so when you ask if there's something above and beyond that we can do as a ref, that really depends on what you're talking about. So BLM didn't do anything outside of having his shoulders maybe weren't square. BLM didn't do anything outside of the rules in his match. He didn't do a thing that I saw outside of maybe he wasn't square.
Yeah.
So really, if he's willing to take the fouls that he took to get himself in a position to be more competitive, that's within the rules. That's why we have more than one foul before you lose. and everything I think is fine there. Now, if for example BLM did something that was such an aggressive foul that it is obvious that its only intention was to hurt his competitor, yeah, referee has complete authority to just remove him from the table for an unsportsmanlike foul and call the other person the winner. You don't see that happen very often because I don't think we really see one competitor actively trying to hurt the other one in our sport very often. I mean, it happens, but it's very rare. I mean, there is a respect on that table for one another. So, and really, I mean, I don't, the way you explained the match, I didn't see it that way. I didn't see, I mean, Matt Mask lost on fouls.
Yeah.
But he was still in complete control of that match. Yeah. He still had hand position, he still had body position, and he still technically pinned BLM. He just pulled his elbow off the pad when he did it. Right. At no point did I see an opportunity for BLM to actually win that match through pinning Matt. Yeah. BLM 100% won that match, deserves the win. Matt didn't keep his elbow on the table. But I don't think that Matt was in danger of actually being pinned.
Mm-hmm. But what I was trying to say, when he didn't do that, he got flash pinned. But when he did do that, at least he was able to make a good match out of it. He was able to stop him in the center. Yeah. And the thing that you mentioned
that's just adjusting on the table for what you need to have happen.
Yeah. And the thing that you mentioned earlier about moving too much in the grip, I also mentioned similar things about East versus West, that I don't mind any rules. You can write the rules as loosely as you want. It's your organization, you can do whatever you want, but do not call it a referee's grip when 99% of the arm wrestlers are moving in it as much as they want, and the referee doesn't even call a single foul throughout the organization tournament. That's
that's the one thing with the BLM match. When the ref took control of the grip, he did not call it a referee grip, he called it a set grip. Yeah. And a set grip and a referee's grip are not the same thing. So even that part of the BLM match, I didn't have any problem with the movement that BLM was doing before the goal, because it wasn't technically referee's grip.
Yeah. So the final question, Luke, we always talk about what rules are preferred by the fans, what rules are preferred by the athletes. You being a referee, what rules do you prefer? And with your experience while talking with other experienced arm wrestlers, like a combined answer, what are the rules that the referees enjoy the most?
So I mean, it's hard for me to speak for all referees, but I would say the easiest rules to ref are strict rules. Reffing WAF, reffing IFA is significantly easier than reffing running fouls at the Monster Factory, or reffing the version of loose rules that Engen uses, which again, I like the rules Engen uses for what he's trying to accomplish. I think it's great. But that's much more difficult to ref than strict rules, because not only does now a referee have to make a split-second decision on what they saw, was it a foul or was it not? Now they have to make a split-second decision on, was it a foul? Was it a running foul? Was it a match-stopping foul? Was it a foul I let go? What do I do with it? And you got to be that much faster. In the early versions of East versus West, when we really saw the referees struggling, you're taking very good WAF referees, by the way. Everyone on that table I have refed with at Worlds, they are very good referees. And you've taken them when all they've ever known is strict rules and made them ref loose. Yeah. And all their muscle memory is fighting them. Everything that they do, because they know how to do it, is fighting them now. And it's taking them time to adjust. Which we've seen. We've seen them get better and better every East versus West we've had. And that's what that is they're adjusting to a new rule set. So as a referee, easiest to ref is strict rules. Absolutely. The stricter I can be, the easier it is to ref. The most fun to ref is probably the running foul system. It's very challenging. I like challenge. I like having to be better. And I like viewability of a match. I like being in that situation where the athletes are able to perform at a level, but we're still working within a confined rule set. So just personally, I enjoy reffing the running foul rules, but the easiest is by far the strict rules. As a competitor, I actually prefer arm wrestling under strict rules versus loose rules. I like my competitor to have to follow the rules, because my entire time in the sport has been geared towards a WAF world title. That's my primary goal in this sport, is to get a world title. So I've trained for strict rules. So I'm comfortable with them.
Okay, Luke, thanks very much for your experience, for your time, for our viewers. If someone from the Arm Wrestling fans community or an arm wrestler wants to talk with you or discuss something with you, where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook. It's just Luke Polstra on Facebook. Instagram is armpower underscore. You can reach me on either of those sites. If uh, if you are a referee, you can go to armrefs.com. That's ARMREFS.com. And there's a section on there that has different rule sets, refing protocols, how to be a better ref, video links to see how to be a better ref. So if you're a referee and you want to get better, by all means, go and utilize everything that's on the site. It's free. And yeah, thanks for having me on, Pradeep. It was kind of fun. I'll come on anytime you want.
Thanks for that. Thanks.